A short while ago, we brought you a report that President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday sought the support of governors of the All Progressives Congress to pick his successor in office. Joining us now to examine the merits and demerits of Nigeria's political culture of presidents and governors determining their successors are Auwal Rafsanjani of Transition Monitoring Group and Mma Odi of Alliance for Credible Election. Welcome to Newsday, both of you. Auwal, let me start with you. What do you make of the report that President Muhammadu Buhari is seeking the support of APC governors to be the one to choose his successor in 2023?
Thank you very much. I think it's very clear and very obvious that President Muhammadu Buhari has contradicted himself. He granted an interview that was widely watched in this country where he said that he doesn't care who succeeds him. And as a result of that position, a lot of people express interest to go into the primaries by expressing their interest and getting the form. If the President Muhammadu Buhari has provided the needed leadership, it is probably possible to stream down the number of the aspirants that we are seeing today. And if the President Muhammadu Buhari also was proactive, he would not have created the rancor, the antagonism that his members from his party are having right now. So it is not a good development in the sense that Buhari should have proactively engaged in dialogue to democratically agree among themselves who will be the best, like they have done to him in 2019. In 2019, he was the only single candidate. He was, it was consensus the party has done to him. Now, when you are leaving, you have created this chaos, you have created this uncertainty, you have created this instability. So it is not a good development because you are supposed to be a statesmanship. You are supposed to be a man of integrity. You say you don't care who becomes your successor. Now suddenly you change your position without explaining to Nigerians what made you to change this position. Now as a result of this, you are also further creating this rancor among your faithful members. I think that decision was not a good decision in the first place. Secondly, the political parties and the president should have also realized that one of the essence of political party is to serve as a recruitment platform for future leaders. If the party has been built on a solid ground, they would have by now been able to identify different cadres, different members at cross that will be likely be presented through popular choice by the party. But because the idea is not really to have a very solid, democratic, elective or contest, that is why we are left with what is happening here. A lot of APC members have aggrieved at the state level that they were not being able to be given the chance. They were just replaced by pets, by just dictatorial, imposition. I don't think it is good for democracy, and it's not good also for the party, for the ruling party itself, because it is invariably going to be losing a lot of its loyal members because of this action that was done, that was not democratic, that is not also meant to create a kind of dialogue or understanding among the members. So, in my opinion, this demand that the president is making to the governors may not necessarily go anywhere, because some of the governors may not oblige the president because they are not coming back for the second election. Therefore, they will have the mind, the courage to do what they think will be the best for them. Those other governors who are likely going to rely on the popularity and support of Mr. President to come back are the ones that will have to, probably do the bidding of Mr. President for now. But I know that many governors and politicians, they have already developed independent opinion and mind about how to go about this, primaries that APC is going to conduct with respect to the getting one of them to be a presidential candidate. Again, I think it is also important that the politicians, especially with regard to the ruling party, it is important that they understand the need to have a peaceful primary, because if they don't do that, they will be at a disadvantage, because many of its members will really leave. So this is why the earlier dialogue, the earlier conversation and discussion and having an understanding with these multiple, aspirants that have come would have saved the party from, the kind of anger that is going on among some of these peaceful people.
Right. And you've made a lot of very good points there, Auwal. Thank you so much for your response. I'm going to give you, Mma, an opportunity to respond to the same question about the president's choice for, or his discussions about choosing a successor. But I also want to bring in this particular point that was brought to our attention earlier on today. Governor Bala Mohammed of the PDP in Bauchi State. Now, we all know that he ran for the presidential ticket and lost, of course, to Atiku Abubakar. Well, there are reports now saying that there will be another primary runoff election for the governorship of Bauchi State, as he seems to want to go back and reclaim his seat. Now, I'm asking that for you to comment on the electoral processes that we've been seeing play out since last Saturday, and what we can expect on Monday for the APC primaries.
Okay, I take it from the point that after patriotic Nigerians fought for democracy, the people who took over power do not know what it costs, that it costs the lives of people, with Nigerian citizens, to bring this civilian rule. And now what they have succeeded in doing is to kidnap our sweat. And you look at the states, even the ex-governors are putting their children's sons, like in Jigawa, to be the next governor, as if it is a private business. So, and you look at everywhere, the governors have chosen their successors. So they have, before now, remember that President Muhammad Buhari announced that he has a successor that will succeed him, and that he's not going to name the person, because if they know the person, they will kill him. He has given us that information since last year. He's just confirming what he told us. And what we are saying and what we are seeing is that this trend going on is not right for democracy. And no democracy will develop with people hijacking it and making it family affair or friendship affair, because it does not produce dividend of democracy. It will not give the competent and quality people opportunity to be in power so that they will change the narrative. What we have is patronage. It's either you are my friend or my children, or you have served before. Look at, for example, in a Delta state, Okonwa's daughter is going to State Assembly. Ibori's daughter is going to House of Representatives under PDP. When you look across the states, all the outgoing governors have anointed their successor. And you can see it in the argument of President Buhari yesterday. But we are not civil society. We are not supporting Mr. President. He cannot come and give us another successor that will not know whether he will work for us, because he's not going to be accountable to Nigerians. He's going to be accountable to the man who anointed him. And that's not what we want to see. We want to see an environment that everybody has opportunity to compete and let the best emerge among them. Let the people, whether it's even delegates, let them choose the one they want to be their leader, and the person who can confidently win this election next year. Because if he choose somebody, the person is going to run against the PDP candidate and other candidates from the party. And the people will have to make a choice. whom they want. So he, like he rightly pointed out yesterday, he said he wants to choose a candidate that will contest and win elections for APC. But if he wants that kind of candidate, let him allow the people, because that is in the spirit of democracy, competition, and the power belongs to the people, not one individual. No matter how powerful you are, you cannot assume the power of the people. The delegates, over 2,000 delegates that are coming across the country for APC special convention, are the people that are supposed to choose somebody who will carry the flag of APC next year, February presidential election, not the candidate of President Muhammadu Buhari. We are saying emphatic no. It cannot happen because we fought for this democracy. Even when Buhari was enjoying the military regimes, we fought for it because we want a situation every citizen will have right to participate. What has been going on since year 2003 has been either the politicians' girlfriends, daughters, and children. They have not allowed a competitive environment that can produce our best. And we have quality people in Nigeria that can change our narrative and our story, but we have not allowed them to come in to contest. If they are not using money, they corruptly enrich themselves from positions of power. They are using all kinds of things. And the danger in it is that if you continue in this trend, people will resort to banditry that has already overwhelmed us. We need a change of story and we need a change of narrative. It has to help us to have it.
Well, Mma, thank you so much for that. Auwal, I would like us to follow up on something that she has said. She has said that this trend is not good for democracy. It will not help, it will not give us, the dividend of democracy. But the question now is, how do we stop it? Whereby we have governors, presidents, anointing or handpicking their successors. How do we stop that in Nigeria?
Well, it's very simple if we all remember what political parties are supposed to be doing. I had earlier mentioned that part of the responsibility of a political party is to democratically identify competent members, loyal members, people with a track record, with integrity, to allow them participate in a democratic party primaries and election. But if you do this imposition, this is what we call godfatherism. If you do this, it means that the person that will emerge will only be loyal to Mr. President or to the outgoing president, So which means that the democratic structures that you have within the party is not useful, which means that the views of Nigerians, it doesn't matter. It is only what the president or what the outgoing president would like to see that will happen, and that is not really democratic, and that is not really good. It means that we will continue with this dictatorial tendency. It means that we will continue to have a close participation in participatory democracy. So we don't want this limited participation in democracy. We want popular participation based on popular decision, democratic decision that will help to usher and consolidate democracy. What they have been trying to do now is basically to change what democracy is all about, popular choice. If you now continue with this imposition, you cannot have moral superiority to be accusing the governors who are also doing what they are doing. So it is important that we allow members who have expressed interest to be given the equal opportunity to be able to compete and contest election. If they sat down among themselves to agree and say not through force or through imposition or through dictatorship, if they among themselves they agree that okay, I'm stepping down in the interest of our party so that we can all support XYZ. That is coming from the aspirant, not because of force or because of imposition. But if it is just a directive that is now coming, the way it is now is more of like somebody is has his own person that he wants to make sure that he becomes then you will destroy the party. There will be division, there will be anti-party. I can assure you, if that undemocratic decision is taken, some of the APC members will do anti-party, and that is not good for the party, and that is not also good for the reputation of the Mr. President. So why can't you just allow a very transparent, very participatory process to allow the aspirant, people who have expressed interest, to come together, have dialogue, have consensus, and then then we'll be able to trim the numbers. But as it is now, I tell you that the way these aspirants have been made to be given assurance, because most of them have been assured the way each person is being given assured. So they spent a lot of time, energy, and resources, and you made them to engage on this, and they are already fighting each other. For example, why should you, for goodness sake, if you are providing a quality leadership, why should you allow your vice president and the party leader, Osunbajo, to be on crossroad? That is not good. You should have dealt with that long ago. Or Amechi, who has been your DG twice, we also put him in that quagmire. So I think the president should have done this earlier on to create enabling dialogue, and understanding and consensus among all of them, rather than now coming to say this is the candidate that you want. I think it would have been better if the Mr. President had engaged these people earlier on to say, look, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure that we have a better understanding and better approach to 2023. You are more than 20 aspirants. Why can't we do the SWOT analysis? Why can't we, look at who will have the best chance, or who everybody is competent, is qualified? But then why can't we, agree to one, just like they have agreed with him in 2019? It was, just simply because of that spirit that people say, okay, we are not contesting. But you should have emulated, that, and also replicate it in the 2023, so that this chaos, this antagonism, this anger, this fight will not be, what we are seeing today.
And I know you've been on the program quite a number of times, and you are quite well-spoken in the area of politics, Auwal. So I want you to answer this really briefly, and then, of course, this question is for Mma. But seeing as the process has not been rancor-free, even though that's what we would prefer to see, concerning the successor, or for the candidate for 2023 presidency under the APC ticket, in your opinion, who is strong enough to go up against Atiku Abubakar, especially in this current political temperature we seem to find ourselves in? Mma, let me start with you, and then, of course, Auwal, really briefly.
Okay, I forgot to answer the question on Bauchi the first time I spoke.
Okay.
I don't know why Bala Mohammed thought he would win presidential ticket of PDP. He should have put his house in order. Many people put their ticket and gave it to somebody to hold for them. Now he's going back to conduct a new primaries. I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether INEC will send people to go and observe, because it's between him now and INEC, which is very sad. You have left to go and contest for presidency. You have lost since you didn't put your house in order. Then let it be that way. But if you decide to contest, he will be standing up against the people and also against the INEC. That is that way. And coming to the consensus candidate from Mr. President, if the Mr. President goes ahead to choose a consensus, because I can hear from Bola Tinubu side that they are not going to accept any consensus candidate, and many more people will kick against it. Then what we can do as civil society organization, we are not going to sit down and allow the democracy we fought for to be destroyed by people who never lifted a finger while Nigerians were killed in order for us to have a democracy. We are going to raise the bar. We are going to campaign so much to see that if you anoint a candidate, that will not work for Nigeria, that will work for the Godfather who anointed. And we have seen a lot of stories on Godfatherism in the country that which need a very sore test in the mouth. We has never allowed the godchildren or godsons or daughters to perform while in the office. So we won't allow, we will carry out campaign. If you put anointed consensus that will not work for Nigeria, that will work for your interest, we will ask Nigerians to express their preferences and reject your candidate. She has to allow people to contest. If you know that you have a candidate, why do you allow people to go and pay 100 million? A lot of money. And those people will go back and encourage banditry and the kidnapping in order to recoup their 100 million. You allow 23 people over to pay 100 million for a expression of form interest. So now you are going to ask all of them go down the same way he did during the chairmanship election. Remember that he allowed people buy from, did everything, did campaign, flooded Abuja with their billboard. At the end of the day, he asked all of them to step down for and that they will be refunded their money. Nobody has got any refund, and I'm sure that's what will happen again. The people who spend 100 million will not keep quiet. They will go and work against the party and against Nigeria and Nigerians, and you will see insecurity in the increase. You will see banditry and kidnapping in increase. So those are the unintended consequences that will happen. But on our side, the civil society group, we are going to raise our campaign, asking Nigerians to vote their preferences, to reject imposition. So Mr. President has up to Monday to decide to allow people who has paid their 100 million to go and test their popularity in the special convention of APC. He should not give us any candidate because PDP did not give any candidate. They allowed people to contest. They tried to negotiate and it didn't work. They asked people to go and contest. You see people, there are people who didn't even get any vote, and they were not angry because people didn't vote for them. Let it happen on Monday. That's what we want to see. But if he goes ahead to impose somebody as a candidate of APC, Nigeria, he is also facing Nigerians, and Nigerians will show their preferences when the day in February next year comes. They will vote for the person that wants to rule them. So Mr. President is not only facing the APC members, it's also facing Nigerians. When you want to consult, he should have consulted last year. He should not have allowed everybody to buy form of 100 million. He should have put a caveat and say, if you are this, if you are that, if you know you are not qualified, there should have been a criteria for people. And say, if you know you are this or corrupt or something like that, you should not even bother to buy the form. Many people will not buy that form. Now, many people bought the form and now telling them you have a candidate, consensus candidate. So, and they have been going around the country campaigning. It is not good, and I know Nigerians will not support it. Nigerians will now decide that you have no right, because he contested in Lagos in 2014. He contested against Wakwazo, against Rochas Okorocha, and he made a winner for a 2015 general elections. He should allow people to contest. That's my point.
Now, Auwal, you have talked about the fact that this is not good for democracy. We should allow people to contest. But we've seen, where so-called contest held, we've heard about the monetization of the electoral process. Now, and the INEC chairman has warned that, Nigeria is moving towards plutocracy if we allow this to continue. So what role, can INEC as the electoral umpire play in curbing this and also the anti-graft agencies?
Well, the electoral law is very clear. It prohibits use of, vote buying and selling of votes from, delegates. But unfortunately, so far, what we have seen in various states and Abuja, vote buying and trading is becoming more random and so rampant and lucrative because this delegate thing has become, another way of, using or turning our electoral process as a mercantilism process. Mercantilists have turned themselves now. Delegates have turned themselves as mercantilists. They have commercialized the whole electoral process, which is really sad. So one of the implications of what we are seeing now is that our politics, our election has already become totally commercialized. So those who with the highest money are the ones that are procuring the position. By the time they get there, they will be, instead of working for Nigerian people, they will be stealing the money to recover their money. In fact, there are some people already in the National Assembly that were complaining that they borrow money, they spend money, and they have to find a way to recover their money. Right now, a lot of aspirants at the state level, they were even openly fighting for the delegate to return their money. Some have returned, some they have not returned, which means that the use of money is done openly. Secondly, and which is very important, this government promised to fight corruption. And in 2019, they openly engaged in trader money. The vice president was seen everywhere going to do what is called trader money. And they didn't do that trader money until one election was approaching. So this is not good, because when you operationalize and institutionalize vote buying through all sorts of devious means to pretend that you are helping the people, is not nice. But now what we are even seeing, we are seeing nakedness in terms of vote buying, and there's no way you can be able to have competent, qualified, patriotic, non-corruptible Nigerians to be involved in this process, either at state or at national level, because you need to have huge amount of money, which largely is as a result of money laundering, that they have some of this money. Hardly you see the clean money being deployed to do what is happening today. In most cases, it is money from the government. You have people who are contesting election that are running state affairs, or some of them, before now the president asked them to go, they express interest, and they are still ministers, or are still ministers using the public taxpayers' money to run their campaign. So the same thing also at the state level. Some governors, they are also doing the same thing. I think it is important, and we can learn from the previous election or dispensation that we had. From 1999 to 1983, sorry, from 1979 to 1983, we had a resemblance of a better management of party primaries and even the election itself. But what you are seeing now under a government that is supposed to be fighting corruption is that you see the nakedness of corruption, corrupting the political system.
Right.
So political corruption is going on unabated in this country, and simply because the people who are supposed to help provide leadership in the fight against corruption, they are not even interested in that aspect, because the whole idea was not embedded in the people, and it has not changed the mindset of many Nigerians who are supposed to help to fight this corruption.
Right.
It is not a campaign, or it is a slogan. It's no longer a slogan or campaign or propaganda. It is something that has to be done by the people, not by one person or two persons. If you have president or you have Mr. President,
allow me to interrupt
alone,
you
for
the sake of time. I apologize. Allow me to interrupt you and go to Mma to get her own response on these allegations of vote buying, especially amongst the delegates, as we know that the deputy governor, former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Kingsley Moghalu, said apparently $35,000 was bandied around for these delegates, and it could spell doom for the country. What do you say?
Okay, we even saw videos where people were carrying dollars, which is not naira. And we know that manufacturers have been crying for the past 2 years. They can't get dollars in the banks to buy things they need to manufacture. And that's why you see food inflation every day. But we saw dollars, even those who don't know the meaning of dollars, were giving dollars last Saturday. And the EFCC didn't do well. It's not in the convention ground, the Abiola Stadium, MCO Abiola Stadium, where the money, they stormed the convention ground. That's not where the money. These delegates were given the money in the hotels a night before the convention. So they would have gone to do night vigil in all the hotels and make sure they recover this money and then trace the money to whoever gave it to them and arrest such people. Because this corruption has killed Nigeria. Nobody can see food to buy in the market. Food inflation is high. Maternal mortality is high. The physical infrastructure has collapsed. Everything is not working well. And people are sharing $20,000. And the delegates will collect from many aspirants and pocket their dollars. But it is sad. It is very sad. EFCC has to get up, and also INEC too, when they are just there to criminalize 5,000 Nigerians that will collect 5,000 to vote. Some of them, they pay them 2,000, and they are talking about vote buying. The real vote buying is the one the delegates collect. And when they collect that big dollars, it affects the choice, the outcome of the primary election, which means that the election has already been rigged at the primary level before the second level. So we are now going to interrogate, and INEC is complaining about monetization of this election process. They have to do something. And INEC have to be unbundled because they have a lot in their hands. The commission should take over these fights.
Mma Odi of Alliance for Credible Election and Auwal Rafsanjani, Chairman, Transition Monitoring Group, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.